Hey guys, this is Simon with ToughTrader.com, and I'm doing the trade review. It's 9 o'clock at night. I've just kind of caught up to everything in terms of setting up the charts for tomorrow and reviewing today's trades and talking to a couple of coaching clients and just kind of getting the stage set for tomorrow's trades. And I wanted to review what worked today and what didn't work today, right? And so before we get started and we jump into that, let me get through the quick disclaimer. It's important. Important disclaimer and reminder for all traders: past performance is not indicative of future results, right? This is not a solicitation to buy or sell anything, particularly futures, options, stock, anything else. This is for educational purposes only. I'm sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it'll make you a better trader. But remember, it's not the idea is not for you just to trade off my coattails. The idea is for you to learn how to trade for yourself and how to become a consistent trader, right? And hopefully that differentiates me a little bit from what's out there in the rest of the world. So let's get started. First, let's jump over to the key thing, and that is to go look at the chart and how the zones worked for today. And we're going to focus our review today on ES. And what you will notice as we came into the day, we had two key areas that were available today relative to where we were trading. We had a white zone. It was a relatively wide area, 2674 to 2678, right? And then we had support from 2669 to 2666, hole in the profile, right? So that's all derived from the TPO and the volume profile. I'm not going to go into it tonight because I want to keep this relatively short. So the first thing you'll see upon casual observation is that both locations gave you great shorts. If you put a stop right behind this trade location, let me see if I can find the square in this process. There we go. If you put a stop, relatively reasonable stop behind this zone, you got paid to the downside. If you put a relatively reasonable stop behind this zone, you can see both times we tested in gave you beautiful 3 and 4 point rotations. Why is that important? Because trade location is the first step in getting a great trade, right? Next, how did the algo? So my next question I always have is, how did the algo help me make money, right? And what's the purpose of the algo? So we're going to take this down for a second. We're going to look at the algo. The algo started from me reading order flow. And what that looked like originally was two things. It looked a little bit like this, where I could read the summation of the order flow and see where buyers and sellers were coming in. And I could literally read the screen just like this. And from this number, from the numbers that are appearing on the screen, I could really pick off some really nice trades. This really gave me a lot of great information. What I found as a trading coach, and again, what the other version of this is, it looks like this right here. This is the other version where it's showing the bid and ask activity and how much volume is going off on each side. And what I found was, while this was great for setting up high odds trades, it sucked for teaching people how to trade because it was overwhelming and people just couldn't get it. When they looked at it, it was just too much data to process. And this is static, right? When it's going in real time, it's really a challenge, right? So what the evolution in the algo was is that we brought all of that information into a key area where these bars tell me, like the bright orange bars meet a certain standard for me for having X amount of volume above and beyond what's in these other bars as a percentage. And it highlights when I have high volume. The blue color tells me when there was very high delta in a bar. The the pink tells me when there's very high negative delta in a bar, right? And all this is important to me in setting up a proper trade and giving me some direction and clue as to where I want the market to go. And that matters, right? Because I want to take trades that have a high odds of winning. So I want to go through the day real quick. So number one, the first trade that triggered out of the gate was actually this long right here at 2669.50. This moving average is kind of my trigger point where if everything else is in place and we close above this moving average, then it's okay to take that trade. So a lot of people get confused and go, well, it closed above the moving average or it closed below the moving average. It's a trigger. This is not a moving average system. The moving average makes it very easy for me to quickly reference where we are and go, oh, we've closed above. Let me back check to make sure all the other data pieces are there. Like, for example, this bar tells me there was very few sellers at the low. We had a good positive delta. We've closed over the 10 period, and I have a reasonable target above. And, right, last piece, and if I come back to my chart, right, I'm right in support, right? The support was published just like tonight it was published prior to, right? It was published prior to taking any trades. Before I even knew we would be trading here, I knew that was the appropriate support resistance area, right? So that being said, I don't like to trade in the first 5 minutes of the day. Some people do, some people don't. I don't, right? I try to avoid the noise there. Obviously, looking back, I wish I took that trade, but I didn't. First trade we took in the room is this 26.77 1/4. You see the arrow still pointing there. This had everything I was looking for. First of all, you'll see these 3 down triangles to the right. That tells me that deltas, positive deltas, are stacking up, and it's very hard to maintain that momentum. So when I get 3 in a row, I automatically start looking for places to take a trade or which bar will trip into location. Number 2, obviously I triggered past my moving average. That was the trigger. There was actually 2 key moving averages in one area. I had a very high negative delta and a high volume bar, pretty much everything I wanted. I shorted 26.77 1/4. I posted that live in real time, both on StockTwits and Twitter. And the targets were 2 and 4 points for the first half of the trade, and then trailed down to a logical area. And the logical area was actually back to 26.69 because, again, going back to our chart where our support and resistance area is, that's this move right here. And let me tell you what's important about the algo, because you could have said, well, we're in resistance from 74 to 78. But if you're a trader trying to figure out where you're going to take that trade, you really want the algo to trigger you in. It's because if you'll look, if you started shorting at 74, you could have gotten pushed all the way to 79 before you actually had a decent rotation back down. However, if you knew you had trade location and then waited for the algo to trigger you in, you had a great trade. Now, here's where I screwed up on the day. I wanted this number right here to be a positive number on the delta. It wasn't. The bar after came, and I hesitated, and I didn't take the backside test. All I had to do was take that bar with a stop right below the low, let's say 1 point below the low. And I had a beautiful rotation on the balance day all the way back up, right? Again, I just didn't take that trade. I should have taken it. I wasn't aggressive enough on the long side, and I missed that trade. However, later in the days, you'll see us pushing through here, and we came all the way back through, and we grind and we grind. I posted this trade in real time. You can see I drew the arrows right on it. This bar is very interesting because we actually pushed to a new high for the day and then failed. And you can see once again, they pushed really hard on the delta to the upside. And a big sell response is not what you expect. And so basically what this series tells you right here is that people tried really, really hard to break to the upside. And what those people who were pushing didn't know is this. Number one, so this is where multiple years of knowledge, 20 years of knowledge comes into play. Friday was non-farm payrolls. Usually the Friday after non-farm payrolls means that we end up with price action that looks like this. If you look at the gross majority of them, let's see, why can't I get this to draw? Here we go. If you look at the gross majority of them, the price action ends up being some variation of balance. And in balance, the best place to trade in balance is at the edges. The worst place to trade is in the middle. And if you'll look on our day, that's exactly what we ended up with. This is where the market opened right here at 8:30, and we balanced all the way through that day. So now what we've done, I know at the edges is where we had the best odds of getting a good turn back to the downside. The algo triggered us in below the moving average. Again, notice the perfection. We know we have resistance here, but we're not in before the algo tells us to get in, right? The algo tells us to get in right here. Our targets are 2 and 4. Again, I tweeted this in real time, both on StockTwits and Twitter. And then it's trailers down. And as you can see, this bar here gave me a lot of information. I knew that we were going to roll down lower at that point for the trailer. And then I was looking for a long down here, and I thought we would test Globex low, which was actually sitting just below here, and that test never came. Actually, if you'll see, this was Globex low from the prior day, and we just never pushed into Globex low. It was a beautiful extension down. It was 9 points. I think I actually covered everything. I want to say I covered the whole trade. I may be wrong, but I want to say I actually took 67, but maybe I'm wrong. I tweeted it. I don't remember now. It's late. But I had a great trade here. This was a very nice push to the downside. I thought we would test Globex low. We didn't quite get there. And then my trigger bar actually came a little bit late, and I didn't feel like taking a 4-point stop, or even a 2-point stop at this point. I wanted my trigger bar to come right off the low. It didn't happen. We obviously pushed up pretty smartly from there at the end of the day. And I don't take a short in the last 5 minutes of the day, but that short, this actually triggered again short. You'll see the cluster of arrows, down triangles, closed below the 10 period and rolled back down. So without droning on and on, what's the importance of all that? The importance is two things. First of all, in the room, we start the day off where we have a pretty good idea of where support and resistance is going to come in. Then we let the algo do its work and tell us, hey, this is the key actual few points where we want to key in on our trade, where we have entry, exit, stop, and we have reasonable targets back to the downside or to the upside, right? And that results in, or should result in, getting consistently paid, right? There's always risk. Nothing's guaranteed, but it's pretty damn consistent with the algo. Really gives us great trade location, and the members in the room have been doing really great. So all that being said, that was my trade day today. That was my two best trades. I had trades in NQ, but I'm not going to review them right now because I want to go home and get some sleep. So the other thing I wanted to say, at the end of the month, we'll be raising the rates in the room almost double. If you'd like to lock in the monthly membership rate, which is $95 a month, right, which includes the team coaching, being in the room all day, the commentary throughout the day, you can lock in between now and the end of the month, and your rate will not raise as long as you maintain a consistent membership in the room. Number two, if you'd like to trial into the room, email me at tradertough@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to extend you a 5-day pass into the room. And other than that, I hope everyone had a wonderful day and made some money. You had to be patient today, but the trades were there. And I am definitely looking forward to tomorrow. I will see everyone in the morning. Have a great, great night. I'll talk to y'all soon.